Dum dum dum.
Here
Hello.
we are again.
Good evening, and welcome.
Good evening,
to
everyone.
What could quite possibly, it's not quite possibly, it is our last ever, for the moment, live feed.
Unless anything changes.
Little Truth Beyond Paranormal documentary type episode. Because obviously Saturday night we will be actually out and about again, back to what we like to class as our best and going back out investigating. Yes. And obviously while we're recording the episodes, we will be doing live feeds, reception and weather permitting. Hopefully this storm will disappear before Saturday. And hopefully we will get things back to the way it should be. So tonight instead, we are going to be talking about, or it was highlighted as Elves, Goblins and Fairies. However, on doing some research over the last week, it turns out that Elves, Goblins, Dwarves, you name it, if it's magical and human-like, they're all fairies. They're all classed as fairies. They all come under the same umbrella. A bit like autism. Autism is an umbrella with loads of different types of autism underneath it, and fairies are the same thing. You have elves, goblins, dwarves, nymphs, tree spirits and tree sprites and all of this. Anything that is classed as magical and human-like are classed as fairies in myth and legends. Now, the term fairy actually comes out, has different spellings. So it can be called fae, as in F-A-E. And I think there's something like 7 different spellings for the word or for the name fairy. It's basically a mythical being or a legendary creature. And to our knowledge, or to most knowledge, it dates back to the 13th century. As far as records go, and is found in most European folklore. However, there are the mythological dwarf, the mining dwarf, has been known to be as far south as Japan. Japan have recorded myths and legends of the traditional mining dwarf. Where they got their, where the origin of that comes from in Japan, is unknown, but in a lot of Japanese myths and legends, there are dwarves. It's classed as a form of spirit, often described as a metaphysical, supernatural, or preternatural. Preternatural. I will say it right. I've been practicing that word all day. Preternatural means living alongside or outside the boundaries of humankind. The myths and stories and legends that behind fairies have no real origin, but are more like a collection of folk beliefs from different cultures. So there are many theories about the origins. Some are, oh crumbs, I've just missed my note now. Some are classed as demoted angels and demons in Christian beliefs, deities in pagan beliefs, as spirits of the dead, as prehistoric precursors to humans, or as spirits of nature. Sometimes a fairy has been classed as a mischievous but magical creature with a penchant, nice bit of French there, a penchant for trickery. Yeah, supposed to be a mischievous little devil. It's also used as a name for the place they come from, the land of the fairy. Now, in Christian belief, the fairy was a fallen angel that has neither found favour with neither heaven nor hell. but in fact caught between the two realms after the gates of heaven were ordered shut by God. So as they descended from heaven, being classed as fallen angels, the gates of heaven were shut, gates of hell were closed, and these other fallen angels were caught in limbo in between the two. And so in Christian belief, that is supposed to be where the fairies come from. They're caught between the two. But as I said before, the first recorded knowledge of fairies goes back to 13th century England by the historian Gervase of Tilbury. Something I didn't know about.
No, I didn't know about that either.
We got a fairy in the living room putting his tuppence worth in at the moment. So Gervase of Tilbury, he sort of wrote stuff about what he thought fairies were and all these sea sprites and different types of woodland sprites and things. But over here in England, it became most known during the Victorian and Edwardian times. Hence things like the pictures of the flower fairies, which were later proven to be fake. And I had a conversation with someone earlier on about it, and they said, "Oh, you know, but the pictures were proved to be faked, weren't they?" I said, "Yes, they are now, but when those pictures first came out, thousands upon thousands of people believed those pictures to be real. And today, some people still do think that those pictures are real, and they will argue the difference. But even if you go back as far as King James, obviously King James was responsible for the more of a modern Bible. He even referred to fairies as demonic entities, and that was actually put in his dissertation of demonology, which
that's pretty cool.
Which has sort of like brought fairies more into the limelight of Christian faith. But there are arguments there, because I don't know many people that would actually go as far as saying that fairies actually exist. And to class a fairy in the same line with God and Jesus, that would sort of come under quite heavy scrutiny with a lot of the people I know that are sort of born again Christians and really into the Christian faith. So it would cause a bit of an issue with those people. There was also a theory that fairies were an intelligent species distinct from humans and angels, and the alchemist Paracelsus, that's a good name, isn't it? Yeah, Paracelsus classed gnomes and sylphs as elementals, meaning magical entities that possess the power over various elements. So there was a lot of people around the world that actually would have classed fairies or different creatures, but it wasn't until later on that they were all sort of put underneath the same umbrella. So in short, all mythical and magical creatures that share a resemblance to humankind are technically all fairies. Elves, they're based on German folklore. Dwarves originated from Old Norse mythology, although there's also been, like I said before, the dwarves in Japanese folklore. But I do like the story behind the Norwegian folklore of dwarves. Now, apparently, the dwarves, as the mining dwarf goes, came into existence from the rotten flesh of the giant Ymir, who is Odin's great-grandfather. Now, Ymir was created from the drops of water formed when the ice of the Niflheim mixed with the heat of the Muspelheim. He was considered the father of all the ice giants and known as the first being. So all the dwarves, he sort of like appeared from that one, which I found really, really fascinating to look into. And I know Michael Wybrow may sort of know a little bit about that, because obviously he's into
Norse mythology.
His thoughts are into Norse mythology and the Norse history. So you have it there that the Norse mythology sort of based a lot of things around that sort of basic. So it comes up as quite an interesting fact there when you turn around and you say, you know, it's a dwarf. No, it's not. It's technically a fairy. And in answer to Kevin's question about the tooth fairy, it's actually a Western ideology. In Eastern theory and folklore, there was no such thing as the tooth fairy. That was introduced later on by Western society, which was, you know, if you lost one of your baby teeth, you place it underneath your pillow, and the tooth fairy would come and visit while you're sleeping and replace it with a small payment. I know I used to get 50p, but nowadays with inflation, I have to pay £2 now. And I turn around and I say, that's it. If you do any more than 2 teeth, that's it. You're putting your whole head under the pillow.
Yeah.
Let the tooth fairy have the whole lot. But the tooth fairy comes from Northern Europe, and there was a tradition of tanfei, or tooth fee, which was paid when a child lost their teeth. And this tradition is recorded in the writings as early as the Eddas, which is around 1200. Year 1200, which are the earliest written records. And again, that's from Norse mythology and Norse traditions. And in the Norse culture, children's teeth and other articles belonging to children were said to bring good luck in battle. And the Scandinavian warriors hung children's teeth on a string around their necks, which is a bit morbid, really. But the reward left varies from country to country. It depends on the family's economic status. But again, it was mainly Western society that brought that forward. But during the Middle Ages, other superstitions arose surrounding children's teeth. And over here in England, for example, children were instructed to burn their baby teeth in order to save the child from hardship in the afterlife. Children who did not consign their baby teeth to the fire would then spend eternity searching for them in the afterlife. The Vikings are said to have paid children for their teeth. Fear of witches was another reason to bury or burn teeth. In medieval Europe, it was thought that if a witch were to get hold of one's teeth, it could lead you to having total power over them. So the modern incarnation of these traditions into an actual tooth fairy has only gone back as far as 1908 in Chicago.
That's what I've got here as well.
So the actual tooth fairy itself has originated from America, along with a lot of other weird traditions. An evil fairy, right? Okay, Kevin. Going back in tradition with tooth fairies, tooth fairies were supposed to be classed as mischievous. It depends on what belief system you use. With a lot of the belief systems, most of them all conjoin everything to do with any human-like being or magical being would be classed as a fairy. So it would be an elf, a goblin, a dwarf, a nymph, anything that was human-like but of a magical nature would have been classed as a fairy. But they were mostly well known to be mischievous. The only one that actually places them as possibly evil is the Christian belief system, where they believe that they are fallen angels and they are caught in limbo between heaven and hell. They just haven't been able to continue the journey to hell, where God is supposed to have punished them. The gates were closed and they were caught in between the two. So again, that's answered that question as well.
Yeah,
you know, the Christian faith believe that fairies are fallen angels and they're caught in limbo between heaven and hell. So we answered that question in one, 2 questions in one hit there. So it's weird because you know, we read so many different stories about fairies, and stuff like that, and yet when it boils down to it, they all come under the same category, and they're all mythological creatures. They're all things that have been created to create an order of things. So, like Kevin said, the Tooth Fairy, that was an incentive to get children to save money, not to pull their own teeth out and stick them under the pillow, but it was to help them get some money, and so it went from there. But then, if you look at the Norse and the Vikings and their belief system for it, again, it comes up as the same. So it's there, isn't it? Straight away, you know, they're all under the same thing. So it depends. When people say fairies, we're not just talking about little winged creatures flying about, because we could be talking about any number of different mythical creatures. You know, we're talking about goblins. We're talking about elves. Elves themselves come from Germany. They are in German folklore. So it's oh, change. Blimey, look at the middle of a live feed. She goes, change.
Sorry.
Change. Excuse me. But yeah, elves from Germanic mythology and folklore. So they were all over the place. But it all tends to be the European and Northern European cultures that have got fairies. It's very rare that there are fairies or the umbrella of fairies further south, apart from the odd situation with Japan with their version of fairies. So,
That's a good one.
a leprechaun again would come under the category of a fairy.
Yep.
Going by the terminology of a fairy, a leprechaun would come under a fairy. And little Irishman at his bar gold. What do you think about people with rhesus negative blood and fallen angels? Oh, we're going into dodgy ground there, Lisa. See you later, Kevin.
See you soon.
Yeah, we had this conversation before about rhesus negative blood and things like that, didn't we?
Mm.
And that was when we were talking about, or was it? No, it might have been when I was hosting the Dark Mirror radio show. We were talking about the rhesus negative blood and the similarity. We'll say it properly. The similarity between the Aryan race and the Aryan race predating Nazism and the Nazi Party of World War II. The Aryan race actually went back a lot earlier than Adolf Hitler and his bunch of idiots. But it was believed that the Aryan race had some sort of different type of blood, which obviously made them unique. And it would appear that the Northern Europeans are fair-haired and pale-skinned. And they reckon it is quite possibly that this is something to do with some form of alien interaction with humankind, and possibly that the rhesus negative blood could come into play with things like that. So it's knowing the truth behind that. And obviously, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't really quote too much on rhesus negative blood. I know I'm what was it, RHD positive. So I ain't got a clue. I'm totally clueless.
I don't really feel that it would something like that would really attribute to anything to do with a body, the actual body, if you get what I mean, Wayne. actual blood within inside the body and stuff. I don't feel that would be something that it would really connect to, because it's more on a sort of supernatural level, isn't it?
No,
It'd be
I
more
think
based.
no. What it was the article that we did on a Dark Mirror radio show. Is we were talking about alien races coming to Earth and quite possibly having more interaction with Earth than we're actually being told. And
Okay.
there is a popular belief and the popular theory that the Aryan race were actually developed by otherworldly beings, and they claim that people with rhesus negative blood are a result of that alien interaction.
Okay.
Again, it's always a lot with a lot of things. There's not much research being done into it, and there's not much proof of it, but there's the theory, and until that theory starts actually being researched properly,
Yeah,
you know,
you don't know, do you?
And it is quite confusing in a way, I suppose, because why is it that you get blood types that are the most commonest types and can be used to be given to all other types of blood type, and yet there's one blood type that can't be given to any other?
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
It's
I've got a lot on that, by the way, so I can talk to you about mermaids if you want.
Please don't. The last time I saw a mermaid was in Blackpool in Ripley's Believe It or Not, and that was like the monkey fish.
That just sounds really weird and wrong.
Well, it was a fish tail with a monkey body.
No, that's okay. I'm good. No, I'd much rather not see that ever. Wow, that's going to be in my nightmares.
To be honest, all it looked like was the tail end of a cod stitched onto the top end of a monkey. And it just looked so wrong. It was really weird.
That's what you want. That's what you want. No,
to be honest, I personally don't not necessarily believe in mermaids in the fairy tale sense.
I love the folklore behind it. I love the folklore behind, mermaids, and there is a big difference between Mermaid and Siren. So the earliest legend apparently of the mermaid is actually back in Syria in 1000 BC. And it was said that the goddess Atargatis, what kind of name is that? Dove into a lake, and she took form of a fish. Gods didn't allow her to give up all of her beauty, so she was only allowed the tail part while keeping the top half staying human. In 1st century, the siren tales were born from painters and scribes, gave mermaids the ability to then walk on land and lure men to scare young boys straying too far from home, apparently, such as water nymph Lorelei, who killed boys in the River Rhine. So that is basically where the whole mermaid tale sort of a tale. Mermaid tale, didn't mean to say that. Mermaid thing sort of comes from, really. And it is said that, nowadays you get people that basically dress as mermaids all the time as well. Some of them have actual jobs as sirens, which is a bit of a strange thing to be, but there seems to be a lot of them out there. It's a big scene at the moment, becoming a mermaid. But back in sort of ancient sort of Greek times as well, there was said to be what they call a wraith type of siren, also, which apparently used to just basically just walk forests endlessly, looking for souls to reap, rather than it being the fairy tale style of mermaid. It's kind of like there's the difference between Siren and Mermaid. Siren is kind of more the dark side. Mermaid is the fairy tale version of the Siren. And a lot of the time as well, especially in America, they have depicted again that they are part of the Fae realm. So it's another Fae. You know, just like all the rest of them as well, it seems. And yeah, I mean, I've got, along with some of the fairy stuff as well, which was quite interesting. It says also for me, when I was doing some of my research earlier, that it's derived from a word called fatam, meaning fear should he. In Gaelic translates to man of the she, meaning forest, wood, or tree. Which interested me quite a lot. Huh?
Well, this was the Siren.
That was just Fae in general. So that is like the whole.
Oh right, yeah.
Fae, the whole.
I was always led to believe that a Siren was half woman, half bird.
Yeah, you see, now that again, that is a very strange thing, because that was something that came up for me as well earlier when I was researching some of it. And it said that, again, in places like the Middle East and Asia and stuff, that they actually believe that a siren is, like you said, part bird, not actually part fish.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
elemental.
It was supposed to be, it's because the siren actually comes from Greek mythology.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was half bird, half woman. And they lured sailors to their destruction by singing. And according to Homer, there were two sirens on an island in the Western Sea between Aya and the rocks of Scylla. So it proves that depending on where you are or what sort of folklore you listen to, the theory behind sirens alter slightly. Some think they're mermaids, they're half fish, half woman, and they sit on the rocks tempting sailors to come in and obviously crash on the rocks. But it originates from Greek mythology and not Northern European. And it's nothing to do with fish. It's just that they flew onto that rock in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, do I kind of feel the whole siren thing, sort, you know, like the way of the siren of the sea was more sort of depicted as in sort of the old sort of style traditional paintings of the fine art sort of style paintings to be more, I don't know, appealing to the eye, maybe, or something along those lines, rather than it being like, I don't know, half woman, half bird. I don't know. I don't know whether like the fish tail or something is more appealing. Probably not. Having the idea of it being more sort of water elemental and flowing maybe was more feminine. Maybe. I don't know. Are all myths and legends all to do with religion? I think some of them actually were for the sake of, you know, back before religion was even like a thing, like Christianity was even a thing. I kind of believe that a lot of the time it was kind of like wives' tales in a way, sort of transferred and passed around. I mean, you know, sort of to make people fearful so then people didn't do wrong.
You have to be careful with saying the word religion, because religion predates Christianity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got the paganism side.
Religion goes right back. If you look at the word religion, religion is a form of belief system.
Yeah.
So even if you're pagan, that's classed as a religion. Predate that and go right the way back to the Norse gods and Zeus and Thor and all of that lot. That's all based on religion. And each religion will have a similar character. But when you look at that version of that thing and then compare it to something else in a different belief system, they're almost identical, but they're called different names. So yeah, basically a lot of these mythical beings have all been created one way or another through storytelling or via religious texts. And of course, that religious text actually describes that being, and it gets read out to people. And then over the years, it changes slightly, it morphs differently. It's like we said with sirens, a lot of people think that sirens were half fish, half human, as in the mermaid, but they were nasty mermaids, tempting sailors to their deaths. And the Greek mythology have always said that they were half bird, half woman. And I've just seen a picture of one.
See, this is what I was thinking. Like, maybe did they kind of think, you know what, we've got to change it.
Here we go.
That doesn't work, does it? Like,
that's a depiction of a siren. That to me looks like a cross between a chicken, an eagle, and a human.
Yeah, it looks great. Maybe that's where the idea of the griffin came from medieval legend.
It's quite possible.
Like, maybe.
But that statue dates back to 370 BC.
Wow, that's pretty.
So that's before Christ.
Old. Like, what? So, okay, so we're talking. So yeah, so sirens could have been at one point. I'm guessing they were, you know, half woman, half eagle bird.
Right. Now, I've just come across a picture of a perfume vase in the shape of a siren. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused with what a siren is. Here we go. Does that look like half fish, half woman to you?
Yes, that does, doesn't it? This is why I'm thinking that there must be something whereby it was depicted as something else at some point, and then they were like, that's a fish, that's obviously half woman, half fish, and that's what proves it. So now they are sirens, and they were from the sea. Exactly. So yeah, obviously
Facebook user, if it does, then have you seen any... Oh, excuse me. If it does, then have you seen any compelling evidence of cryptids that lead you to believe it's possible or feasible?
It's hard, isn't it, that one? Because
the problem is, again, Graham. The problem is, and it will always will be, that while people post videos on things like YouTube and Facebook and TikTok, and the fact that editing software is so readily available and the technology behind it is so easy to access and so easy to use, that a 5-year-old can do a video of an alien spaceship landing in Trafalgar Square, and it could be convincing enough to fool a lot of people. The video footage of the mermaids on the rocks in New Zealand or whatever it was, and when they actually realised that someone was filming, they jumped in the water. Sorry, but if I was a mermaid sitting on that rock and I saw someone videoing me sunbathing topless, I'd be turning around and going... I wouldn't run and hide. It's too late now. They've already spotted you.
I would have just like taken their phone into the sea, like, come with me.
Well, they were videoing from the top of a cliff top, and the video is literally from the top of this cliff top down to this rock on the shoreline. So it's quite a distance away. And the mermaids were able to see this person, and as soon as they saw them, they jumped in the water and swam off. And I'm like...
It could have just been one of the sirens that I talked about earlier. Could you imagine it's someone I know? That would be weird. Oh God, no.
Well, exactly, Joe. I mean, the theory behind it would be is that behind its ears there would be a set of gills, and that is modern day TV and films. You know, like say Harry Potter, for instance. Harry Potter with the gillyweed or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the gillyweed.
You know, he swims underwater after taking the gillyweed, and he gets a set of gills come up on the side of his neck. And this is the belief that that's what mermaids are able to do. They're able to breathe underwater courtesy of gills behind their ears. But again, there's no definitive proof. Oh, Mick's with us. Hi, Mick.
Hey, Mick.
there's no definitive proof that mermaids exist. All there is that there are different species, and no one's actually been able to come up with proof and actually said, here's a mermaid. It's all these weird grainy videos or long distance videos or so heavily edited videos that you can only do nothing but laugh at them because they're just so out of proportion. But on that same page that I was looking at here, when you say about it actually does state on here, appearance of the sirens were believed to look like a combination of women and birds in various different forms. In early Greek art, they were represented as birds with large women's heads, birds' feathers, and scaly feet. Later, they were represented as female figures with legs of birds, with or without wings, playing a variety of musical instruments, especially harps and lyres.
I was going to say, it's got to be a harp, hasn't it?
In the 7th century Anglo-Latin catalogue, the Liber Monstrorum, says that sirens were women from their heads to their navels, and instead of legs, they had fishtails. The 10th century Byzantine encyclopedia Suda says that from the chests up, sirens were the form of sparrows. Below, they were women, or alternatively, they were little birds with women's faces. And then by the Middle Ages, the figure of the siren had transformed into the enduring mermaid figure. So there's evolution there, because if you look at how that comes out, it starts off as sirens and then they turn into mermaids. So sirens predate mermaids. So judging by the history of this,
completely changed. Like they had like an evolutionary switch and ended up under the water.
No, evolutionary reversal. If you look at how humankind we started off in the water, came onto land.
Yeah, so then
we had birds, and then we had animals, human beings, etc. This one seems to have gone the other way. You have birds with human features, then you have human features, but on birds without wings. Then you have human features with fish tails, and then you've got mermaids. So it's evolution in reverse. They've gone from the air back into the water.
They evolved. No, that's bad, isn't it? Like, the bit that got me is like, I don't know why, but when you said about like little birds with women faces, I just saw like this robin with a lady's head, and I was just like, no, no.
Could you picture a crow with Maggie Thatcher's face on it?
Yeah, it's just like.
But now I've just discovered something quite interesting, because obviously,
and now you're laughing, which is a bad sign.
we've heard of mermaids, and we've also got men. Okay?
Oh yes, men.
However,
we're
going back, we had the siren were also male or female. But
okay, that's cool.
By the 5th century BC, the male siren vanished. From all record. Male sirens vanished after 5th century BC. And the 1st century Roman historian Pliny the Elder discounted sirens as pure fable, although Dinon, the father of Clerchus, a celebrated writer, asserts that they did exist in India, and that they charmed men by their song, and having first lulled them to sleep, tear them to pieces. And in his notebooks, Leonardo da Vinci wrote, the siren sings so sweetly that she lulls the mariners to sleep, then she climbs upon the ships and kills every single person that's asleep.
Wow. That's harsh.
And there are a lot of different sirens.
Yeah, there are a lot of different versions as well.
Hyginus gives the number of the sirens as 4: Teles, Radney, Malpi, and Theoxiope.
Theoxiope. That's a cool one.
Theoxiope, blah blah blah. blah, blah, blah.
Rubber
I mean, this page is amazing because it's come up with stuff here. Greek deities.
Oh yes,
So
I
you've got
love
the
Greek.
primordial deities, Titans and Olympians, chthonic deities, Mycenaean deities, personified concepts, and other deities. And you've got aquatic deities.
Aquatic deity.
So you've got Amphitrite.
Oh yes, I've heard of them.
Very similar to Aphrodite.
Yeah.
Ceto,
See,
Glaucus.
I know. Yeah, Ceto. I've got in the Gorgon. Yeah, she's from the Gorgon. She was the mum and also the wife and also the sister of one of the gods. So I don't understand how that
on there then.
Yeah, exactly. Ceto was the wife and lover of Phorcys, who apparently was one of the gods of the ocean. Apparently.
Yeah. So then you've got Nereus, Oceanus, Phorcys, Pontus, Poseidon, Proteus, Tethys or Tethys even, Thetis, Triton, Nereids, Nalads.
Nalads.
Whatever you do, don't kick him in the Nalads. Oceanids, which sounds to me like a type of species that live in the ocean. And
yeah, I think it is because I've heard of that one before.
Something that looks more like it should be on a chemist's list, a potamoi. Potamoi.
Potamoi. Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one, that one.
But and then it gives you a list of nymphs.
Oh, okay.
And what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 22 nymphs. 20 nymphs, 21 nymphs in Greek, the Greek mythology. So that's awesome. A lot.
There's a lot, yeah.
Pre-modern day tech that raises possibilities, so presumably 20th century rather than 21st. In regards to mermaids, only the rubbishy videos that people post on Facebook and YouTube. It's difficult because obviously, like I said before, when you actually get people post weird videos, and they're not exactly great thingies, the only way you're actually going to prove whether mermaids actually exist is to actually come across one and actually speak to one. Mandy Chapman said, "Is gillyweed real?" No, it's not. It's a magical plant that, when eaten, allowed a human to breathe underwater. It was said to resemble a bundle of slimy green rat tails, and when eaten, it gave the consumer gills, allowing them to breathe underwater, and webbing between their fingers and toes, allowing them to swim underwater with ease. Its natural environment in the book is salt water, and is grey-green in slimy colour.
Yes.
So it's only courtesy of...
I have a weird video. Thanks, Peter Ling. Thank you, Lingy. That really helps. You don't know.
Yes, Peter, we know about your weird videos, sir.
Yes.
Evening, Mandy.
Hello, Mandy.
Yeah, while we're on here, and Mandy's on here with us as well, she's trying to put through a petition to have the old red phone boxes put into suicide hotspots, which provide a free phone line through to someone that can help someone in distress. I have posted it on my timeline. I will also post it on the Truth Beyond Paranormal page as well, group. So please, people, sign it and get let's get them phone boxes out there. They do ask if you can help to donate to it as well. So please give that a go. And I'll post that once the live is finished. I have a weird video. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm taking it there. No problem, Mandy. And while we're at it, Northwest Radio next Wednesday, yours truly, 3 hours worth, 12 till 3. I'll find a link for that and put that on there as well. With Mandy and Cy Spedo. I'm looking forward to it. Has anybody got any other questions regards to the strange mythical creatures?
Centaurs is one, apparently. What do we think about centaurs? Now, that was actually one of the ones that I was wanting to go into, and then I didn't. So I don't have as much as I would like now on centaurs. Like, literally,
when I mentioned centaurs in the past, someone went, "Oh, that's the half man, half bull, isn't it?" No, that's the Minotaur.
That's a freaking Minotaur, mate. Like,
they're half human, half horse creatures. Again, Greek mythology.
And apparently they are as well. Again, part of the Fae realm. They were seen as protectors of a particular forest back in the Greek mythology. In Rome, they were said to be protectors of a gateway that was able to basically sort of like guardians between life and death, really. That was within the depths of a forest that was apparently somewhere in Rome back in the ancient Roman times. And so and that's all I got. That's as far as I got with centaurs. That went well, didn't it? But yeah, that was what I had written down and in my head.
Well, okay, I'm going to add to it. Did you know that centaurs are classed as male?
Yes, they're all male.
And the female equivalent is centaurides or centauresses.
Yeah, centauresses is one of the ones. And some of them, apparently, when I was looking online, some of them, the females, I thought it would have been the males, but the females were ones that actually apparently had depicted as with horns very similar to that of a stag. So some of the ones I saw, it was like they had it was more sort of fawn-like. It was more like they were like a fawn with these big antler sort of stag antlers, and I was like, oh, okay, was not expecting that. But that's quite cool. And fawn is another thing that apparently is a relative of the centaur in Greek mythology. So there you go.
Someone's just messed up my my sound.
Oh no!
I'm going to have to pop off and come back on again.
Yep, no problem. I will.
I'll be back in a second.
That's no problem. So yeah, hi there, guys. So I've even got like dragons and griffins here. Apparently, in medieval legend, the griffin was apparently half lion and also half eagle as well, that protected realms. So that's another one that's a bit strange. Like, I like the one of the griffin. Protected realms and possessions for the pagans. Griffins, apparently that's what they did. And they became the emblem to the church for the opposition to remarriage or to get remarried, apparently, as well. So yeah, that's another thing with the griffin side. I mean, I think I had some more actually on the griffins, to be fair. Formerly known as Griffon, so it wasn't even known as Griffin to before, it was Griffon.
That's better.
And we're back. That's better. I was just talking a little bit about the griffins as well. I
used to love griffins.
Griffins they're so cool. One of the ones which I saw online was that of what used to protect a lot of the sort of churches and stuff, which was like an emblem for a lot of churches. back in like sort of medieval times, and they would have all of this armor over their heads, and apparently were ridden by fairies. So that was quite interesting. Yeah, and they protected possessions in paganism. So basically, like the altars of the pagans, they used to apparently have like little symbols and emblems of the guardians from the far north, and they're called guardians of the far north and golden kings of law, according to what I was reading earlier. So I just love how freaking epic that sounds.
Which again proves that different belief systems have different theories behind them, because you've said that, and yet what I'm looking at now, the griffin originated in Western Asia and spread towards Greece by the 14th century BCE.
Yeah, so it originated from
places like China.
Yeah, China. So that's quite awesome. Yeah, it's just so interesting, all of these different cultures, the way that they all have the exact same mythical creatures, but they're all different. Like they all have their own different meanings, and they're different. I think like
a lot of all of this comes down to typical Chinese whispers. You know, you start off with something and it evolves over the years. You know, you go into a different country and it turns and it becomes something different, and the stories behind it, they evolve, and some will be classed as like an evil entity, others will be classed as an entity of goodwill and hope for the future. And, oh my God, what is going on here? Pick her up. There we go. Let's solve that problem. But I mean, I've never heard of them called this before, but apparently they were also called the Grips.
The Grips? I've not heard that. I've heard of Griffon and Griffin, but not Grips.
I mean, also the word that the actual spelling for Griffin, there's so many different spellings. I mean, we know Griffin in the English spelled Griffin. But there are Grips spelt Gryps. There's Gripes spelt Grypes, and Griffoi, Gryphoi. And this is from from a Greek website. So they are, although they are the same creature, they've all got sort of like a different meaning of being there. I mean, the Greek mythology says it's a tribe of creatures guarded rich deposits of gold in the mountains of Scythia in northern Eastern Europe. Their one-eyed neighbours, the Arimaspians, battled them for these riches. Decorative griffins were popular in ancient Greek art and later in medieval bestiaries and heraldry. So it seems to be that everywhere, you know, as people travel the world and they expand society further out, they adopt these belief systems and then maybe translate them into their own way for their own purposes. And so it evolves. Each story about a mythical creature evolves as time goes on. It's I do find it quite interesting.
Yeah, I love all that sort of stuff. It's really cool. Now, Mandy has asked one that I'd completely forgotten about, and she said, "Does the Phoenix Tears heal, or is that only in the magical world?" Well, from what I remember from the Phoenix,
got like Harry Potter going on here tonight.
Yeah, from what I can gather from the Phoenix and the healing of its tears, that is very Hollywood sort of style stuff, because a lot of the time it's you know, phoenixes are about the rebirth. So it's all about, again, it's all about belief systems, rebirthing of you know, of a situation and things like that, rather than it being an actual like
Right.
healing entity sort of thing.
Right. I'm going to dispel the business of Phoenix Tears straight away because there are two versions of Phoenix Tears. One is a completely fictional thing, obviously by J.K. Rowling for Harry Potter. And the other one is a very strong concentrated form of cannabis extract.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yes, in answer to Mandy's question, like, because I've just taken the Phoenix Tears, is that it's highly concentrated form of cannabis oil. You know what I mean? So
okay,
I
that's
don't know so
cool.
much about the healing, but in that sense, that's Harry Potter, and that's a totally fictional healing ability. But then on the other side of things, it is a concentrated form of cannabis extract, and they call it Phoenix Tears.
Yeah.
Lake Champlain or Loch Ness creatures, Chupacabra, Mothman, any mileage on these? Don't, you know, Mothman, we did a documentary on Mothman. I love the story of Mothman, and if anybody gets a chance, watch the film The Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere. It is amazing, and it is based on true events. Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That is some really scary stuff. If you watch the film and then read into it, actually read the books about what happened there. Not so much the rumors about what happened afterwards, because there are rumors that Mothman was seen at Chernobyl before the nuclear reactor exploded. There was rumors of him seen in Japan when the Fukushima power plant blew up. There was other ones seen in Indonesia when the tsunami went. But there's no proof of that. There's edited photos and things like that on there, but there is no definitive proof that the Mothman ever appeared at any of those places. But with the version of events that happened at Point Pleasant in West Virginia, there were too many witnesses and actually had separate individual experiences to actually say that weren't real, because it sort of, to them, that was real. And a lot of people died on the bridge in Point Pleasant. I think it was let's have a look. Hang on, how many? Let's have a look. People died on the. I can't remember how many it was now. It's 40 something. 46 people. Killed 46 people, 75 vehicles. A lot of people managed to get off, but 46 people ultimately had died. And 2 people's bodies were never actually found. They found the car, but they didn't find the people that were inside them. But regards to the Mothman, there was a lot of things happening before the bridge collapsed in Point Pleasant. There was an area called the TNT area. There was a lot of strange things going on there. A lot of people had actually seen what appeared to be a man-sized, or larger than a man-sized figure with huge wings, but with bright red eyes that burnt into their very soul, saying that something was going to happen. And then obviously with the Mothman Prophecies, the guy that actually wrote the book, he had to sort of add to it slightly, obviously when they did the film version, to actually sort of add some different things in there to actually bolster it up for the film. But the majority of things, the majority of it all was sort of pretty much accurate. I think his name was John Keel. He actually did thorough research into the Mothman Prophecies and actually looked into what it could have been. So I seem to have frozen. I've frozen.
You haven't my end.
Oh, I have. Everything's frozen. I'm trying to access the chat. I can't. Help. What's going on? Hang on.
Good old internet.
There we go. It's unusual. I don't normally do this. Oh, well, I'll just wait for it to catch up. Okay, guys. How many fingers am I holding up?
4.
Actually, it was only 2. I was cross-eyed. So yeah, but then you got other stuff like Loch Ness. Now, Loch Ness, I'm a bit, I'm a bit iffy with Loch Ness monster. Simple reason being that could have been an elephant in the lake. When that old what's his face, the Greatest Showman, he was invited over to England during the Victorian times with the circus and that. And if he'd have brought his elephants over and he might have visited Scotland, it's quite possible that he took them for a stroll in the loch. We don't know. With the trunk sticking out the water, could have been seen by a passerby. Oh my God, there's something in the loch. A lot of people, there's not enough livestock in the loch to feed something of that size. So if there is something in that loch, what's it eating on? That then brings in another theory about the possibility of there being a network tunnels that lead to the sea, which would explain why the Loch Ness monster is so evasive and always manages to get out of the way. So, oh look, my feed's come back now. I almost near enough had to shut it down. Richard. Richard, it was you that shut my sound off by trying to ring me. But yeah, I mean, ghost sightings, ghosts in Japan. I mean, the Japanese, they write some excellent stories. Apart from me, of course, they do write some excellent ghost stories. And their tradition behind ghosts are amazing. Dwarves play a big part in Norse mythology. See, Mike, you're a bit slow there. If you'd have joined us at the beginning, if you'd have joined us at the beginning, I'd have told you. But yeah, dwarves and that, they sort of do play a big part in Norse mythology. Yeah, he said that made from the maggots that appeared on Ymir's flesh, which is exactly what I'd said earlier on, but it wasn't the maggots, it was the flesh of Ymir. But apparently, I looked, and apparently he's Odin's great-grandfather. So yeah.
Thor's hammer. Yep. I did understand those hammers.
But we know, like, Mike's probably better than the internet.
Yeah, he probably is, actually. We have somebody
he's the one to know about.
I think a newcomer from YouTube, the Heathian collation or colliation.
The Heathian? Don't you mean the heathen?
Yeah.
It's the Heathen Coalition, not the Heathian.
That's cool. Well, thank you very much for coming and joining us today.
Yes. But yeah, there are a lot of theories there that Nessie is, there's no way there could be a Loch Ness monster within the loch because there isn't a big enough food supply to feed something of that alleged size. So that then sort of spawned another theory that there is a network of tunnels that lead from one loch to the next, to the next, to the ocean. But then it then asks and raises other questions as to if there is a Nessie, how has it managed to survive when all these other large creatures of its type became extinct millions of years ago? How did it escape? again, it's all theories until we've got definitive proof that there is such a thing. They're always going to be theories. But what it does do, ultimately, is create a good bit of tourism.
Yeah.
All it takes is for one person to say, I saw Nessie last night, and you'll have hundreds of people descend on Loch Ness. You know, and if you're an ice cream vendor, you're going to make a killing. You know,
yeah, exactly.
oh, I sell ice creams. Right, let's get to Loch Ness. Let's tell them there's a Loch Ness monster, and we'll set the van in this lay-by. Job done. We'll make a killing. We'll run out of ice creams within an hour.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe that was the whole idea behind it. Like, just get as many people down there.
It's possible, because if you look, and Richard will probably say the same thing, or will probably agree with me, that you've got a lot of these things have been concocted or told to children or told to other people as a way to control
Humans,
other people.
basically.
Well, you look at the Christian belief system, and they come out with the 10 Commandments. It's a way of living your life. You go by those 10 Commandments, you can't go wrong, according to that belief system. Now, you tell a child that, you know, put your tooth under the pillow and the tooth fairy will give you 50p or whatever, and that child does it, you're then obliged to go up there and put the 50p under the pillow, because you've told them the tooth fairy's going to come along and do it. Now, when that child grows up and becomes an adult and has children of their own, they're likely to do the same thing. They know the truth because they've obviously grown out of it and they know that's the case. But then when they have children, they do the same thing. Same with Father Christmas. Technically, Father Christmas did exist at some point. And then the story of how kind he was to the children of Germany, etc., lived on after his death, and he became a fictional character as a result, which has now become a myth stroke legend. You get to a certain age, you grow out of that story and you learn the truth, but you then pass that on to your children. Or Father Christmas won't bring you any presents if you're naughty. He'll only bring you a lump of coal. Well, if you go by tradition and you go back to Germanic history, it wasn't Father Christmas that gave you a lump of coal. That was Krampus.
Krampus.
Father Christmas's brother.
Yeah.
Not a nice chap. And also a really, really good film, if anybody gets a chance to watch that one as well.
Yeah, I like that one. It was fun. Good one.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mandy, that's Freddie. He doesn't tend to go to bed till quite late, and he likes to stay up, and he's getting very chatty at the moment. Yeah, Elf on a Shelf. But that's the thing, you see, it's and like, excuse me, like Joe said, a little magic never hurt anybody. No, it didn't. And I think when you tell children these sort of things, I think that sort of helps create imagination. And that imagination is key importance to children. You know, that helps them learn. It also helps them keep them open-minded. You know, like we say the other couple of weeks back about imaginary friends. Could imaginary friends actually be spirits of people that have passed by before? It's just that we see them as imaginary friends, and then the children grow out of them. But it all boils down to imagination, and you know, it's a good idea for children to have that magical experience and that ability to be able to sort of think, you know, God. And I always joke saying, right, if you misbehave, I'm sticking your head under that pillow so the tooth fairy take all your teeth. Oh, Tenju. I've heard of Tenju or Tengu. Crumbs, where have I heard of that? Tenju. I have to look it up now because I have heard of that before. Yeah, again, they would be classed as fairies when you look at them. It translates as heavenly dog or heavenly sentinel. They're a type of legendary creature found in Japanese folk religion. They are considered a type of yokai, or supernatural being, or Shinto kami gods. Where have I heard of that before? They're thought to take on birds of prey, and they're traditionally depicted with both human and avian characteristics. The earliest Tenju were pictured with beaks, but this feature has often been humanized as an unnaturally long nose, which today is widely considered Tenju's defining characteristic in popular imagination. They're also thought to be parallel to the Garuda.
Oh, no,
a legendary bird or bird-like creature in Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain mythology, and influenced by the Shirotehiko Okami, a native Shinto deity. Tenjo features in Buddhism as well. Buddhism long held that the Tenju were disruptive demons and harbingers of war. Their image gradually softened, however, into one of protective, if still dangerous, spirits of the mountains and forests. Tenju are associated with the ascetic practice of Shugendo, and they are usually depicted in the garb of its followers, the Yamabushi. Ew. So there you go. Learn something new every day.
You got to love the Japanese folklore as well. Like I remember the whole sort of like hooked beak looking nose, and that is depicted a hell of a lot in anime characters as well. A lot of anime characters have that sort of beak-like looking nose. It's very interesting.
I mean, with the Onryu, I mean that character, yeah. That character really does get on my nerves because it's the spirit that features in the film The Ring, as I think Graham has said. But it does feature in traditional Japanese beliefs and literature. It refers to excuse me, I got a bit of a nose leak. Refers to a ghost believed to be capable of causing harm in the world of the living, injuring or killing enemies, or even causing natural disasters to exact vengeance to readdress the wrongs it received while alive, then taking their spirits from their divine bodies. The term overlaps somewhat with Giro, except that the cult of Giro, the acting ghost, is not always necessarily a wrathful spirit. So it does feature in Japanese belief. It's unclear as to where the origin of it is, but they reckon it can be traced back to the 8th century. So the actual spirit from the ring is, they've used that character, but that character dates back to the 8th century. So it does sort of shed a bit of light on that one. But it just gets on my nerves when people use that in photos. I go, oh, look what I've caught. I've caught the spirit of a ghost. And, it's, you can see clearly that it is an Onryu or Onryo, the ring ghost. And you just sort of sit there and think, yeah, okay. I weren't born yesterday. She's got the same hair as the one on the ring.
I think not, my friend. Especially if you had one like that, you'd be thinking to yourself, "What the hell have I done wrong?" Like, oh wow, this thing is coming to collect my soul. Fabulous.
I mean, the thing is, I'd want to know what one was doing in my house, considering I haven't got a well underneath the house. I don't even have a basement, so I don't know how that would materialise in my house, to be honest.
It just be like I can't get up through the floorboard.
So anyway, it is 15 minutes past our allotted scheduled time.
It is. We have talked quite a bit tonight about different myths and legends, and we are going to wrap it up for tonight because otherwise it's going to get too late again. But I hope that you guys have enjoyed our little talk on myths and legends tonight.
And we'll try and schedule a couple in, because obviously if we're only out filming once a month, we'll try and do a little live chat or something in between, so that it's, you know, once every 2 weeks there's something for you to watch, because otherwise, you know, you're going to be waiting a month between each live feed. So we'll try and slip something in once a fortnight or in between the lives, so that there is something for you to watch. It's just a few messages to go out.
You guys could maybe review our nights for. That'd be cool.
Just a few little comments there, like with Mandy Fellows and the petition for the red phone boxes, the disused red phone boxes, to be set up in suicide hotspots, to call centres and that. I will post the link onto the Truth Beyond Paranormal page, because it's, you know, something that needs to be addressed. Spookinori at the moment, guys, if you buy 2 books, there is a Spookinori bookmark you will receive free with it. So it's any 2 of the 3, you'll receive a free Spookinori bookmark, but that's only if you buy them signed from myself. If you buy them from Amazon, then you'll just pay their price and that'll be it. You won't get them signed and you won't get the bookmark. If you buy them directly from me, you'll have them personally signed to you, and you'll get the free bookmark to go with it. Book 4 currently still in progress. And then book 5, I will be cracking straight onto that straight after, because it is burning a hole in my brain. I've got everything ready for it, and I just want to get cracking with writing it. So I need to get book 4 finished first. At the moment, its job done has had a bit of a revamp, and it's expanding rather quickly into a larger book than I first expected. So that's a good thing. And then I Am Not Alone will be following job done. So book 4 and book 5 will be released pretty sort of straight after each other. So and that
pretty cool.
I Am Not Alone is one that you're going to need a pack of tissues with.
Oh no.
It's going to be it's going to be a sad one.
And then you've got to write, well, at some point as well, you're going to, in between this, he'll somehow write us a script as well, Wayne.
Yes. Lady J is going to be adapted into sort of like film TV format. And I've taken on the responsibility of translating it into a script format, which I'm quite excited about doing. And then hopefully this sort of like this time next year, we'd be looking at it, start to see the fruits of the labor of that, and start getting that produced, and see what happens then. So it's all exciting. I just want to be able to, I just want to have my little walk-on part. I can sort of be a guy in a petrol station and be behind the counter and go.
He'll just be there, just like, wait a minute, I'll be like, wait a minute.
No, I'll be the petrol attendant.
And I need to see Wayne. Oh, look, there he is.
It'll be obvious. I'll try and set it up so that I have to have really geeky glasses, blonde hair, and a baseball cap, and I'll go. That'll be £36.40, please, mate.
Yeah, and I'll be there like, oh my god, it's weird.
There's my cameo.
Cut. Where's my walk-on part, Wayne? So we're going to be talking about this at some point, but if you talk with Physiology Productions, Lisa Loops, who has been commenting tonight on here, if you speak with her, Mandy Louise, I'm sure that we can look into something for you. By the way, Lisa, don't worry, I'm not just talking to like some random person from the public. She is actually part of Portrait X Productions and Portrait X as well. So, yeah, so Physiology Productions is going to be taking on Spookanori, doing some films, short films projects with us, with Portrait X Productions in association together. So that's going to be something else for you guys to look forward to coming from Wayne very soon. So
and all I can say, just to sort of finish off on that side of things, is I would like to thank everybody that has helped support me with my writing. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, none of this would have been possible. You know, to writing poems at school, to be featured in a monthly magazine, to get to this stage, you know, it's nothing I expected, and it's all been because the people have been there and supported me, and you'll never be forgotten for all of this, because it's just, you know, words can't describe how it's made me feel. I feel so humbled and proud that people have supported me right from the start. You know, whether it's been buying the books or listening to the live feeds of me reading the books, you know, it's the support has been there right from the start, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's been really, really cool to be able to sort of plug so many different areas, you know, not just for Truth Film Paranormal, but to also get, you know, Portrait X Productions in association with that, and then being able to do the Spookanori as well, and then also, you know, having the public event side and the public events arm as well as part of it all. It's been pretty awesome. So thank you guys very much for allowing us to do that for you all. It's been a real pleasure, especially during lockdown. We had nothing else to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, normally I would have been flying out and about in a coach or something, and doing various bits and bobs, and things haven't really changed that much for me because my parents retired. So the coach company, we decided that's it, we'll shut the coach company down, and then became that I would be available for my children, for Ellen, and it then gave me the clear ability to concentrate on the stories as well. And as a result, you know, the second I start writing one story, I get another idea in my head for something else. And I've got to a stage now where I've got about 8 or 9 books floating around inside my head. And I'm like, I've got to get cracking on with the one I'm doing now so I can release this, get this one out of my head. But no sooner have I got that one out of my head, another 2 pop along.
Another one's come along to just be like, hello, I'm here too.
I keep thinking to myself, well, I've got plenty of memory storage in the front here to store all these books, but it can only store so much.
You're like, no, my computer RAM.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for all those that have followed me on the Spookanori journey, right the way from the start, back in the most haunted days, right through to now, you know, if it wasn't for you guys, none of this would be happening. And I'm very grateful for everything. So, bit of a soppy moment there.
No, it's not soppy at all, because it really, you know, it's true what we say here. You know, we're very truthful individuals, and what you see is what you get with me and Wayne. So when we put it out there that we're really appreciative of what we have here, we mean it wholeheartedly, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to put out what we put out now, because there would be nobody there to view it, so there'd be no point. So
I mean, yeah, but also it's had a knock-on effect for me, because if it wasn't for me being able to do that, I wouldn't be here for my children.
Yeah, Yeah.
And that has been the biggest thing for me, is the fact that now I'm actually writing and I'm, in a sense, making a living from it. I'm able to be here 24/7, apart from when I'm doing, obviously, TBP filming and public events. I'm here 24/7 for my kids. And when I've got children ranging from 1 year up to 12, that's something I need to be doing. And so I can be here at the same time as I'm doing what I do best.
Yeah.
So I've got the best of both worlds. I've got my kids around me and I've got my job. And I don't know, I'm doing what I love and I'm so grateful for it.
Oh, yay!
I might bring a tear to me eye. So yeah. So I'm very grateful for everybody, and obviously, you know, we will crack on with other little lives. I'll think up of different little documentaries that we can do in between filming of live episodes and whatnot. So it would always be pretty good. So as we're coming to the end, all we can say is keep your eyes peeled Saturday evening for the live broadcasts.
I'm looking forward to that.
Depending on what the weather is like at the location, the reception is usually pretty good in most of the places there. So we'll be doing the live feed as well as filming for the episode. And it should start, we should be starting, we need to be starting sort of around 8:30, 9 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, depending on the light. But, you know, if you turn on your notifications for the live feeds,
make sure that they're on all, because I've noticed that a lot of people have been saying they're still not getting notifications. So guys, if you're going to be watching on Saturday, make sure that your notifications are on all, rather than just notifying you for like here and there. But what I'd love to do as well for you guys is to do like a little review afterwards, maybe like a few days afterwards, just so you guys for half an hour can tell us what you guys actually saw on that night and get your say in, which is not something that we've ever done before. That would be quite a cool idea, I think.
And the easy way to do that is you can either have a pad and a pen with you, and while you're watching the live feed, if you jot down the time that it happens and what you saw, and then obviously when we do the feedback live or the feedback video, if you just obviously mention what time you saw whatever, and then we can refer to it on the live video, look back at it and actually see whether we can actually decipher what you've seen and whether we saw it or not. And it would be a great help. You can also actually put it on the live feed itself, because obviously you would see it. You could place the comment, but it may not come through for about 20 or 30 seconds. So you would need to put down saw such and such at such and such time. And then maybe tag one of us in there so that we get the message that it's come through, and then we can refer to it straight away. If you literally tag us straight away, when we click on it, that will take us straight to that moment in time on the video. So we'd be able to sort of skip a couple of seconds beforehand and then view over it. But I personally think the better way to do it is to write it down on a piece of paper, jot down what time it was you saw, whatever, and then during the feedback session you can let us know, and we can then sort of take it and refer to it.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, because it's, you know, really helpful to us to be able to hear and see what you guys see and hear, rather than just relying on ourselves on the night, because sometimes when senses are heightened, especially when we're out in the elements as well, we may not see or hear things that you guys will. So it would be very, very handy and helpful to hear from you guys as well. And if you're on the live feed and there's others that maybe have not watched before or whatever, if you guys could let them know that as well in the comment section, that would be brilliant. Just to help us guys out a little bit as well. We will say at the start of the night anyway. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop rambling and get off of here before you guys kick me. So, yeah, it's been a real pleasure to have you guys with us basically every week, sometimes twice a week for the last few months. So we really enjoyed it. And we
it almost makes me wish the pandemic could last a bit longer so we could do some more.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm joking.
Even though we want to go out.
I want to go out.
We want to go out. But yeah, so it's been real fun, and we are going to do probably a couple more at some point as well, just to sort of pass the time. Like I said, the review.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was something I used to do with Most Haunted between series. I used to do little competitions. That is something that I'm looking at introducing as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Little competitions with little prizes to give away. So keep your eyes peeled for competitions, because we do, and we will be having one to come with us on an investigation, which Sam was originally starting to organise. So hopefully that will be going, and then I will actually have one set up for a physical prize as well. No, Joe, no, we've decided we're going to make up for the loss of going out during COVID and in winter this year, regardless of whether there is no snow, 6 foot of snow, snow drifts that are over the top of your house. We are still going to go out. We are going to investigate in our long johns. We're going to have thermal gloves on with heated pads in, and we're going to melt all the snow with our enthusiasm, and we're going to go out and still provide one, even if it means investigating an igloo.
Could you imagine? That'd be freaking epic. I can imagine us all sitting there like, why the hell are we doing this? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Lisa Loops is probably sitting there like, yes, you will. Physiology, yeah, you do. Yes, you bloody will.
Hello, greetings, and tonight, Truth Beyond Paranormal comes live from Lapland.
from and our reindeers, you got to looking out for the reindeers.
Tonight we are going to look for the alleged spirit of Father Christmas.
Yeah, could you imagine if we actually found him? That would just be like the best thing ever.
hang on, I'm getting something. Yes, your name begins with R. Rudolph. Your name's Rudolph. I'm getting a Rudolph from somewhere in the forest. Yeah. You see, now I'm creating a spookinori there, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, anyway, I know we've got some of our team members are still watching, so we are going to message, put a thing on for you guys to actually see about what time we're going to meet up Saturday and whatnot, and make our ways off, because obviously we need to discuss that, as it is Wednesday coming to Thursday, and we haven't sorted out what times we're meeting up where and everything else, and
where we're going, what we're doing, what we're eating, how how we're going to sustain being able to be there for
well, the good thing is I'm going to be safe with boar burgers.
I
will be safe with boar burgers. I think what it was the last time that caused me the problem with that last episode was the lettuce.
Because you're not used to eating lettuce? Is that what it is?
I don't like vegetables. I've never done vegetables. I do weird stuff like pasta and things like that, but I'm not too keen. I reckon it was the vegetable, the lettuce, simply because today I had a wild boar burger and I haven't had the same problem.
Oh dear!
So I'm going to put it down to the lettuce.
There's going to be a lot more freaking weird and wonderful.
I think it's Graham. Graham, I think, is still stuck on Star Wars Day. So yes, Graham. May the fourth be with you, Graham. But
Graham, why?
We did feel his presence, but we didn't unwrap them.
Graham, why did you do that to me? Like, I was literally, I just looked at that and I was like, feel your presence.
Use the force, Luke.
God damn it, Graham. You
Graham,
and your
I am
thing.
your father.
You and your thing. That doesn't even make sense. See, he's really put me off now. Today it's 555. Oh
Hey?
yeah, so it is.
555. 5. Where's the 5 come? Where's the third 5 come from?
Actually, yeah.
5th day of the 5th month, but it's not the 5th year.
Otherwise, we've really gone back in time, and now we're in the 5th century again.
Oh, I'll tell you, right, you're saying about that, 555. I watched a film yesterday morning, 13, 13, 13. Don't bother. I read the write-up, and it was based on the Mayan calendar and the fact that we have a leap year because the Earth solar day is 365.25 days in a year, in a solar year. And so to make up for the odd 0.25, we have a leap year. So it keeps things level. Now, according to the Mayan calendar, we technically should have had a 13, 13, 13. And in this film, everybody goes nuts and starts killing people because they weren't born during a leap year. All those that were born in a leap year were fine, but everybody else went nuts and started killing each other. And
what was the point? I don't understand. Okay, it's a it's a numerology thing.
oh God, yeah.
So that makes more sense because I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty certain that they're just like literally just doing math. Like they're just doing math. Like what? Why is this such a big thing? Like they're just mathing me.
So
and then I was
next year will be the big one then. So I'm going to go into Nostradamus mode and go, next year we're going to have a problem because we'll get 666.
Yeah, that's weird because you know what, Joe Mac, I'm actually when I get off of this and I get off with Wayne, I'm going to watch the last 20 minutes of that because me and Mark are watching that right now. We've got 20 minutes left of that, so that's weird. Things we see and hear on Netflix. It's actually really good, Wayne.
I did see that come up and I thought, do I watch it or not? But then I opted for watching Colony instead.
Yeah, it's more of a sort of ghostly thriller, but it's kind of cool because it's not your usual ghost thriller because of the fact that I don't want to give too much away, to be fair, but basically, I don't know, I just hate. You'll see what I mean if you watch it. I hate one of the main characters, and then it kind of turns out that you're like rooting for the ghost, basically.
Saturday night. Wayne Seaton presents Spook and Ori group as well. If you're not already signed up onto that, come on into the group and say hi. You can buy the books on Amazon. You can buy them personally from me. If anybody hasn't already brought any of the books, send us a PM or have a chat with Sam, and Sam will put you on to me and we'll sort something out for you. And other than that, it's been a great live feed tonight. And we'll see you all again on Saturday.
I've enjoyed talking about fishy creatures that are actually apparently meant to be not fishy.
Come on, Sam, time.
Right, here we go. We'll see you soon. We'll see you guys on Saturday next. Have a good rest of the week, guys. See you then.
And it's a good night from Sam.
No, this way. No, I don't know.
Come on, it's reverse. It's good night from Sam.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Vigorously waving.